Hello there. This video is going to aptly be called The Spell. I'm making this video in response. I'm going to time this video because it may be in a few pieces. I'm going to try to do them in 10-minute sections. I am at a quarter till. I'm making this because of this crazy post going on the God Zone that is, I don't know how many pages long, and this thing just keeps going and going and going. The only reason I'm trying to keep up with the crazy posts is the same reason that so many witches are bringing about deflection on the post, because they don't want the few people that come to check out this board to see this tie-in and this connection between witches. Now I know by this time y'all have heard me say the word witches so much that you're kind of desensitized to it. And that's all part of the spell. Very much how part of the spell works. We're under the spell of witchcraft from the time we're born in this world and to the time we leave it. This world is a witch's haven. It's why we're born dead. It's why we're born evil, as the book states. It's why, because we're born into this thing due to something that happened that landed us all here, rightfully so. That being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the spell, then I'll talk a little bit more about how it relates to this specific thread, to these boards, Christian boards, why they're attacked, why are they derailed, why the witches work so hard to maintain control of the attention of those boards. What is witchcraft? First thing you have to do is dump everything that you think witchcraft is. You're told by mass media, movies, books, idiots that buy into the whole witchcraft thing itself, and we have a conception up here of what it is. That's not witchcraft at all, but the perception that you have is very much a spell of witchcraft, and that's how witchcraft works. I've used this analogy before, but it's still good today, and I'll use it again. In the 70s, we all wondered what an exorcist was. We were curious as about what an exorcist was. We see the word a couple of times, a few times in the Bible, exorcists giving latitude to the Holy Mother Church, Catholic Church, performing exorcisms on people. And we were all very curious about that. And lo and behold comes a movie called The Exorcist. And in that movie, there's Linda Blair, a kid actress, playing this horrific part, very imagey, very scary, very supernatural part. And the whole world looked at this movie and said, that really happens. That's the exorcism. Now don't get me wrong, people are possessed. They're possessed all over the world. And they behave in horrible, horrible manners. And they behave in horrible, horrible ways. But the things that you saw in that movie is not a possession. Now meanwhile, think back in the 70s when everybody was flooding to these theaters to go see this representation of The Exorcist. I like to use the analogy that, we were on the way to the theater and we cut through the alleyway and we walk over this poor drunk laid in the street and step over him to go get to the picture house to go see what an exorcist is, go see how somebody's possessed really looks, not realizing that we just walked over the possession. We just saw the true possession of these spirits. That's why we call booze spirits. Think about it for a second. The whole world is given to these spirits. The whole world is given unto this act of demonic possession. So now, here's Hollywood telling you no, that the guy laying there drunk in the street, your brother, that's dying for lack of food and lack of shelter, he doesn't need the attention. Over here, the theater of the true possession, this is where your attention needs to be. Come see the possessed one. Meanwhile, you left your brother laying here in the ditch to die. That is possession. Now, we're deceived into thinking that we're not possessed. How many of us are drunks? How many of us are sex perverts? How many of us are murderers by nature? How many of us are homosexuals? How many of us have all these problems in life? Only to deny we have problems. Only to deny our possession of these sinful, naturistic entities that we take in. Like the booze, we take it in, go, drink it down. Next thing you know, we're acting, behaving in a manner that we would never act and behave otherwise. We go to a porn house to watch some porn back in the 70s is how it was. You go to a porn house and watch something in the theater. Next thing you know, you're leaving that theater, acting and behaving in a way that you would never do it before. Why? Because you took it in. You go walk the streets of New Orleans at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're supposed to be on a business trip. You see ungodly, unsightful, unspeakable acts taking place in the very streets that you're walking. The next thing you know, you're involved in those acts yourself in total immunity because nobody knows you in that town, right? Because you took it in. We have to take things in to become possessed. You have to take those spirits in to be possessed. So that's what possession is. Now let's get on to the witches, because the witches work the same exact way. We've been told by the same movie houses, the same tinsel town, that the witches not only bought and took over from its very conception in the teens, occultish people who own and ran Hollywood, Holy Land, their Holy Land. We were taught by them what witches were. Big black wearing hats, green skin, again the green man thing lending its part to it. This concept of witches were wrote about in fables and story tales before that by the media of their control, before movies. There's always been a media. Before it was movies, before it was TV, it was movies. Before it was movies, it was song. It was writing, it was books. Before writing is books, it was song. And they always have to have control of this media to keep you in this spell that we're all under. No, witches don't ride around on brooms and wearing black hats. In contrary, okay, that's enough for this video. I'm gonna get right back in to make this a short one, as there's something I have to go do real quick. But hold that thought and click on the next video and part of this one.